Sometimes I pretend to be a little earthworm, and just sit out next to puddles, and just kind of sit there menacingly, just waiting.
Why an earthworm?
And the main question I have to ask you is, would you still love me if I was a worm?
Yes.
Fucking idiot, you love worm. Stupid.
Would you love me if I was a worm?
Welcome to Hot Scrapes and Omens.
She's not answering. That means no. In case y'all are wondering, that means no. You would not love me if I was a worm. Would you at least take care of me if I was a worm? Like, give me a little habitat or something?
Sure.
Okay.
Why not?
Well,
yeah.
Nothing.
So we went to go see Motionless in White a couple days ago. And we're in the pit, and it was like a low point where it was just kind of quiet. And then I just screamed over the crowd, "Would you still love me if I was a worm?"
It was.
Never answered.
No, he never answered.
Chris Motionless doesn't love us.
He doesn't love worms.
Yeah, it's not a big worm guy.
I guess.
Come to find out. But welcome to Haunts, Graves, and Omens.
Welcome.
My name is Fred Stewart, and with me, as always, my lovely co-host, Taylor.
Hi, it's me. I'm here.
Hi, Tay. And with us, running cameras and sound, it's Marty Cock.
Good job, Marty.
He's not here. He's here, but he's not here.
We have a bunch. Host.
Yeah. Check out the next week's episode of The Doc that's coming out, where we have a bunch of homies from New Mexico, from Farmington, have visited and invaded the dock. A lot of sand all over the place.
Oh.
It's pretty cool.
Why is there sand?
Because it's New Mexico. Just sand.
Oh, okay.
Sand and cigarettes.
Okay.
I do have some fun true crime news this week. That, of course, last week, the moment we stopped filming, we get some form of insane true crime that pops up.
How it goes.
They have arrested someone in connection with the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Oh yeah.
He's in custody.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and apparently there's he wrote like a series of memoirs and things like that years ago where he was like, I was in the car when Tupac got shot. I gave the guy the gun.
Oh.
And then they just now got him in custody. So
great. They're doing great.
It's insane. Fucking years and years later, dude, we got him.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
It was pretty wild.
What true crime news do you have?
Nothing. I ain't got nothing.
So I'm running cameras and sound this week. In place of Marty, and I'll do my best like
See, I don't do that when I run cameras and sound. I just run cameras and sound.
Yeah, I see that. Watch his movie magic. Oh. Should get moved around.
Look at
dude.
that.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I'm ready to get into it. Are
Okay.
you ready to get into it?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm ready. You want me to hit it?
I can hit it.
Okay.
I want you to set the tone. We'll set the tone for the spookiness.
Yeah. You're gonna start the...
Yeah, it's one of these.
There we go. All right.
All right. Here, I'll open it up. Ready?
Okay.
In 1995, a large bird-style person that was bright yellow invaded a street known as Sesame. There was no survivors. One witness who lived in a trash can named Oscar was hesitant to talk to the police. But he did say that in the morning of October 6th, 2023, watched this bird person walk into Sesame Street carrying an AR-15 style rifle. What would happen over the next 600 minutes? No, I'm just kidding, dude. What are we covering?
We are covering something that I hate. We've talked about it before. I don't like doctors for a very good reason.
I don't like doctors.
They scare me. So of course we're going to talk about Harold Shipman, who is a doctor.
Yeah. Dr. Harold motherfucking Shipman.
Yeah.
big ship guy here.
Are you ready to get into this?
Oh, I'm ready to get into it. Watch as I place my beer inside of this last podcast and left koozie.
There's no waters in there, is there?
There sure isn't.
Sounds about right.
There's beer and more beer, and then there's tonic water for cocktails.
Oh, well.
That is the beer and alcohol fridge.
Okay, sometimes there's water in there.
But I'm ready to get into it,
right.
you ghost and ghouls. Let's fucking run it.
All right. So, born into a working class family on June 14th of 1946, Harold Frederick Shipman, or Fred or Freddie.
Excuse me? Sorry? Is it... Oh my god, dude. What the fuck, dude? Makes so much sense now, dude.
Oh, okay.
That's why you chose this story, dude.
It is not why I chose this story. I saw something about the story and it just weaseled its way into my fucking head like a goddamn tadpole.
I can hear a ghost. Hold on. There's a ghost out there. Like a tadpole, dude. You've been playing too much fucking... You've been playing too much Baldur's Gate 3, dude.
Absolutely.
Tadpoles don't normally go in people's heads, dude.
Well, they do in that game. He knew a childhood far from normal. He maintained a distance between himself and his contemporaries, mainly due to the influence of his mother, Vera. This distance was to manifest itself in later years. One neighbor notes, quote, Vera was friendly enough, but she really did see her family as superior to the rest of us. Not only that, you could tell that Harold was her favorite, the one she saw as the most promising of her 3 children. Vera decided who Harold could play with and when. She wanted to distinguish him from the other boys. He was the one who always wore a tie when the others were allowed more casual dress wear.
So he's just like a fucking nerd, dude?
Yep, thanks to his mother.
Mm.
So that's a good start. His sister Pauline was 7 years older, his brother Clive 4 years younger, but in his mother's eyes, Harold was the one she held the most hope for. So, kind of a change. The middle child was actually the favorite.
Interesting.
Instead of the forgotten child.
Yeah, that is really interesting. And it is kind of funny that she's like, I have the most hope for Harold. Well, lady, you fucking chose wrong. You know, in the end, you know, it's not taking Miss Shipman to Vegas anytime soon, dude. No, dude. Your fucking odds are fucked. I'm just trying to get my laughs out before it all goes downhill. Like every other Doctor of Death episode we do, we're like, fuck, man. I don't want to. I'm just going to get fucking fucked up, dude.
So as a student, Shipman was comparatively bright in his early school years, but rather mediocre when he reached upper school level. That's what it says. He was very bright, and then he just became mediocre. Yeah,
he was a good kid. He was a good student, you know. And then he started getting his older years, and he became fucking stupid, stupid idiot, dumb idiot, dummy, dumb fucking asshole. Yeah.
Nonetheless, he was a plotter determined to succeed, even when it meant resitting his entrance examinations for medical school. Strangely, he had every opportunity to be part of the group. He was an accomplished athlete on the football field and the running track. And in spite of this, his belief in his superiority appears to have precluded forming meaningful relationships with his contemporaries. There was something else that isolated him from the group. His mother had terminal lung cancer.
Oh.
So, as she wasted away, Harold willingly played a major supportive role, which makes complete sense.
Still, I guess we're not taking her to Vegas now. Listen, dude, she made a psycho, dude. She birthed a psycho. I don't want to hear shit from anybody, dude. All right? Okay? He turns into a very, very bad fella, okay?
Yeah.
You know? He's not no goof-off kind of guy, all right?
No.
He's a real asshole, if you guys are starting to pick that up. Not yet, but he will be.
So, every day after classes, Shipman would hurry home, make his mom a cup of tea and talk with her, mostly about the day at school. she had counted the minutes as she waited, and she found great solace in his company. For his part, this is likely where Shipman learned the endearing bedside manner he would adopt later in his practice as a family physician. Towards the end, Vera experienced severe pain, but because pumps to self-administer painkillers did not exist at that time, Vera's sole relief from the agony of cancer came with the family physician. No doubt, young Harold would watch his mother's distress miraculously subside whenever the doctor injected her with morphine. But as the disease progressed, the already frail Shipman grew thinner and frailer until June 21st of 1963, when cancer ultimately took her life. Vera's death left her son with a tremendous sense of loss. After all, his mother was the one who made him feel special and above everyone else.
I mean, lucky him, dude. My mom just like beat the fuck out of me and drank a lot, dude. So like, you know, he had a nice. Seems like he had a pretty nice mom. You know, maybe a little obscure,
little quirky,
a little quirky and weird here and there, but you know, doesn't really seem like a bad mom.
Not really, no.
It's like, you know, mom, he kind of just was there with his mom at the end, you know, and kind of all that. And my mom would just drink a bunch and then punch holes in the walls, dude. It was awesome, dude. I mean, it's the duality of childhood, I guess. That's why I run a true crime, supernatural, encrypted podcast, and I have for almost 2 years. I'm here to just vent my inner self.
That's fair. That's fair, I suppose. So significantly, her passing left him with an image, you know, of the patient with a cup of tea nearby, finding sweet relief in morphine. So this was etched in. He was 17 at the time when his mom passed.
Okay.
So he was not very old, and it was a scene that he would recreate in the future. So when it happened, he would become a doctor, but one with no regard for human life or feeling. And we're gonna kind of still talk about his history.
His history?
Yeah. So 2 years after his mother died. Also, I'm just gonna say we're probably not gonna be super happy with the schools and the hospitals.
No, never. we never truly are. I mean, like 2 years after his mom dies, does he get like super into like dirt bike riding and starts doing like professional motocross or something like that, dude?
No.
Oh, okay. So he does. It's not good then.
He was actually finally admitted to Leeds University Medical School.
Oh, I mean, that's quite the accomplishment. Yeah.
Yeah. So getting in had been quite a struggle. In spite of his self-proclaimed superiority, he'd had to rewrite the exams he'd flunked the first time around. Nonetheless, his grades were adequate enough for him to collect a degree and serve his mandatory hospital internship.
I mean, so he actually did his hospital internship, unlike the other last doctor death.
Yes.
Who fucking didn't do that, like, basically at all.
Yeah. So it is kind of surprising. Many of the teachers and fellow students can barely remember him. Like, he was not very significant. It's odd to see, like, the duality of Harold Shipman versus, I can't remember his name, but Dr. Death in Texas, where everyone remembered him.
Yeah.
You know, he was so out there and so, like, in your face that like everyone remembered him.
Well, it's because the last Dr. Death was a fucking dude, bro, dude. He like went and played football and shit, and he was just like, yeah, football, yeah. And then he killed a bunch of people, and we're like, no, dude, don't do that.
Shipman was also an athlete, though.
What do you do? Fucking table tennis? This fucking asshole, dude. You know, he probably did something stupid.
I mean, he probably did like football or soccer or something, whatever his mom wanted him to do.
Yeah.
Be my
whatever mommy wants.
I hate that thing. Thank you. Some who do remember claim that he looked down upon everyone else and seemed bemused by the way most young men would behave. Quote, it was as if he tolerated us. If someone told a joke, he would smile patiently, but he never wanted to join in. It seems funny because I later heard he'd been a good athlete, so you thought he'd be more of a team player. Nah, he did what he did.
He just did what he did, huh?
Yeah, he was not very pleasant to be around, it sounds like. He just kind of was like snooty.
Snooty.
Yeah. So most of his like classmates, especially from earlier years, simply remember him as a loner. They also remember the one place where his personality changed. The football field.
Oh, so he did play football.
He did.
Oh, interesting.
Here, his aggression was unleashed and his dedication to win would intensify. Even so, he was more sociable in medical school than his mother had allowed him to be while living at home. So he was a little bit better in college, but not by much. So a former teacher said, quote, "I don't think he ever had a girlfriend. In fact, he took his older sister to school dances. They made a very strange couple, but then he was also strange. And they say he was, quote, a pretentious lad."
That's such a British way of saying that, like, he was an asshole, you know? Yeah. And you're just kind of just a scumbag, dude. You know, it's like, because this is in the UK,
yeah,
right? So it was football, so it wasn't like football. It wasn't like, you know, football, dude. You know, it was like they run soccer around and they kick the soccer. It was the feet ball, if you will. And so this fucking guy, dude. So that is such a pretentious lad. That's just so funny. Be like, well, he was a bit strange, and I don't think he ever had a girlfriend. In fact, he looked at all the dances and made a strange couple, but he was a bit strange, a pretentious lad. It's like, so he's an asshole.
Yeah.
Just say that, dude.
So Shipman did eventually find companionship in a girl and married before most of his classmates did. At 19, he met Primrose, who was 3 years younger than him. Her background was similar to his. Her mother had restricted friendships and controlled her activities.
Classic helicopter parents.
Mm-hmm. So Shipman married her when she was 17, and she was 5 months pregnant.
Oh, shit.
At the time. So there's that. By 1974, he was a father of 2.
Goddamn.
Yeah. And had joined a medical practice in the Yorkshire town of Todmorden, which we have mentioned Todmorden before on this podcast, I think for a alien episode.
Yeah, perhaps, or we talked about maybe during the UK's Most Haunted or something like that.
Something, yeah.
There's something fucking going on Todmorden, dude.
Also, I like that he's in medical school, but you know, he apparently can't use protection and has 2 kids, you know, by 1974.
Well, you know, maybe he wanted to have kids, dude. Maybe that was like part of it, dude.
That early, though?
I don't know, dude.
Granted, this is the 70s, early 70s, so I suppose. But I don't know. I think it's young.
Yeah.
Especially to be going to school, too. I'm like, that's a lot.
Well, this is also a different time, dude. This is the 70s. Dude, houses probably cost like $3,500, you know?
If that.
Like 74. I'll look it up and I'll be able to tell you.
So in this North England setting, Fred seemed to undergo a metamorphosis. He became outgoing, a respected member of the community in the eyes of his fellow medics and patients. But the staff and medical offices where he worked saw a different side of the young practitioner. He was often unnecessarily rude and made some of them feel stupid, which was a word he frequently used to describe anyone he didn't like. He was confrontational and combative with many people to the point where he belittled and embarrassed them. He also had a way of getting things done his way. Even with the more experienced doctors in the practice, and not even 30 yet, Shipman had become a control freak.
Wow. So I looked it up how much it was. It says the The mortgage market took off and house prices flew. At the start of the 70s, an average house price was about 4,000 euros.
Jesus Christ.
Marty Calc. I hit the wrong camera.
So, hardworking and enthusiastic, Shipman fit well into the social matrix. His senior partners saw him as a godsend. One, Dr. Michael Grieve, appreciated his contribution in providing up-to-date information as he was so recently out of medical school. But his career in Todmorden came to a sudden halt when he began having blackouts. His patients were devastated when he gave them the reason. He suffered, he said, with epilepsy. He used this inaccurate diagnosis as a cover-up. So the truth had soon surfaced when practice receptionist Marjorie Walker stumbled upon some disturbing entries in the controlled narcotics ledger.
Mm-hmm.
The record showed how Shipman had been prescribing large and frequent amounts of pethidine in the names of several patients. So here's where it starts.
So pethidine, huh?
Yeah.
What is pethidine?
It's a morphine-like analgesic.
Okay. It literally as I pulled it up, it's about 1/10 as potent as morphine, but the first thing that when you pull it up,
Yeah.
is it's a controlled substance, high risk for addiction and dependence, can cause respiratory distress and death when taken in high doses.
Wow.
Really? Couldn't fucking guess that one, dude. Did you know if you take enough of this, you'll die?
I think that's like common practice with most things.
Yeah, dude. Take enough Benadryl, dude. You'll see the Hat Man, then you'll die, dude.
Yeah. So, moreover, he'd written numerous prescriptions for the drug on behalf of the practice, although this was not unusual, since drugs are kept on hand for emergencies and immediate treatments. The amounts that he was prescribing were excessive.
Naturally.
So, pethidine was initially thought to have no addictive properties.
Oh, the 70s, dude. Oh, just such a different time, dude. It's like when they're handing out fucking Oxycontin,
Yeah.
in the early 2000s, and they're like, it's not addictive, okay? And then you take it and you're like, I kind of want more of this. I think I'm ready to start fucking robbing things, dude.
This morphine-like substance is not addictive.
Listen, Tay, I know you're coming into the doctor's office because you got some aches and pains, and now take this morphine-like drug that we know morphine's addictive, but take this one because it's definitely not, you're definitely not going to be fucking clawing at your face all
Sounds
the time
good.
forever.
Think I can get some more of that, or
Oh, yeah, we'll just hand it out, dude. How much you want?
all of it? So now it was a long, 60 plus years after scientists first synthesized it, pethidine's non-addictive reputation is still hotly debated.
Okay. All right, man. Fuck you guys. You guys are stupid.
I'm going to say it's probably addictive.
Yeah, I'm going to take a wild guess, so yeah.
So following the discovery of Shipman's overprescribing, I'm struggling with my words, a covert investigation by the practice, including John Dacre, followed. To his alarm, he discovered many of the patients on the prescription list had neither required nor received the drug.
It's like, yeah, little Timmy came in, dude, and he had asthma, and you gave him 5 pounds of pethidine, dude.
Yeah. So, Dacre challenged Fred in a staff meeting, of all places.
Certainly tried. I imagine Mr. Shipman was just in there just like this. Cut to the line. Just you go ahead and just challenge me.
I'm pretty sure you're taking all that pethidine.
You don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm just like, I think you're using all of it.
I think you're taking all of what you've prescribed. So Dr. Michael Grieve recalls, quote, "We were sat around with Fred sitting on one side, and up comes John on the opposite and says, Now, young Fred, can you explain this? And puts before him evidence that he's been, they say, gleaning. I assume that means stealing, taking all these drugs. Showing that young Fred had been prescribing pethidine to patients and they'd never received the pethidine. And in fact, the pethidine had found its way into Fred's very
So what happened is I was gonna give Mrs. Martha some pethidine, okay? I was gonna give it to her. All right. I signed it out, okay?
Right.
I loaded a syringe with it, just trying to be efficient, get ready to go. And wouldn't you know, Cheryl, spilled her Diet Coke on the floor, okay? And I was too busy setting this syringe up, and I kind of slipped, and somebody was walking up with some urine samples, and I didn't want to hit them, so I kind of rolled off of them, and then wouldn't you know, it just ended up in my arm, and I just started whatever, and it goes.
Great.
Yeah, that's what happened. And then I did that 40 more times.
Oh, okay.
That's like how do you even they're gonna they're gonna challenge him with this stuff,
Yeah.
And what is he just gonna be like? Fuck you guys! He's not gonna like the fact that this is happening to him.
No. So Shipman's way of dealing with the problem was to provide an insight into his true personality. Realizing his career was on the line, he first begged for a second chance. When this was denied, he became enraged and stormed out, hurled a medical bag to the ground, and threatened to resign. The partners were dumbfounded by this violent and seemingly uncharacteristic behavior. But as we know, this is not uncharacteristic for him.
No.
Shortly afterwards, his wife Primrose stormed into the room where his peers were discussing the best way to dismiss him. Rudely, she informed the people at the meeting that her husband would never resign, proclaiming, "You'll have to force him out."
You're gonna have to kill me to get me to leave.
She was right, though. Ultimately, he was forced out of the practice into a drug rehab center in 1975.
Naturally. Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's not a good look. Like, if we're doctors and we're like, listen, we got to get rid of Shipman because he's stealing drugs and using them. And he's like, whatever, man. He leaves, and you're like, fuck. All right, we just gotta listen. The best way is probably I don't know.
You're gonna have to force him out.
You're gonna have to fucking beat him to death in the parking lot if you want him to leave. It's just like, how did you get in here?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Yeah, I would.
Joke's on you. You're never gonna fucking find out. Bye.
Yeah, throws on shades, leaves. Bye, bitch.
So 2 years later, his many convictions for drug offenses, prescription fraud, and forgery cost him a surprisingly low fine. Just over 600 pounds is how much he had to pay. Which I don't know how much that is now, but
600 pounds and 75.
Yeah. But I assume it's, for everything that it is, it's probably not that much. And it's probably a decent amount. Shipman's conviction for forgery is worth noting. First, because his skill in this area was nothing less than pathetic. And second, he failed to learn that his ineptitude in this area was readily exposed.
Yeah. So, we looked it up. It's about 1,000 euros.
That's
today.
Not that much.
No, for stealing a shitload of drugs, dude.
Oh my God.
That's insane.
Okay. So they were just like, yeah, 600 pounds and we'll call it good. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So in spite of this early warning, some 22 years later, he actually believed that he could get away with faking signatures on a will. So we'll get into that a little bit later. Mm-hmm. But he's not very smart at all. So today it would be pretty unlikely that Harold Shipman would be allowed to handle drugs unsupervised, given his previous track record. Nonetheless, within 2 years, he was back in business as a general practitioner.
The classic GP.
Yeah, so he was accepted into the Donnybrook Medical Center in Hyde in the north of England.
That is one of the most British statements of all time. He was accepted into the Donnybrook Medical Center in Hyde in north of England.
Yeah.
Great. There he would just treat horses who were injured in the war. The occasional ghost from the 1800s. And Her Majesty herself. Her Majesty herself.
The Queen?
John. No, the Queen. Elton John.
Oh.
The Queen.
I mean.
He would play his songs on the piano. It was just piano. In fact, he wrote Piano Man inside the practice. He didn't. I was too busy out back using it on a bunch of stolen drugs.
So, he was accepted into Donnybrook, and he was able to convince his peers of his sincerity of like, I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Fucker wasn't sorry, though. Dr. Jeffrey Moisey of the center explained,
Moisey.
quote, his approach was that I had this problem, this conviction for abuse of pethidine. I have undergone treatment. I'm now clean. All I can ask of you to do is to trust me on that issue and to watch me. But he wasn't really watched.
Mm-hmm.
So again, he played the role of a dedicated, hardworking, and community-minded doctor. He gained his patients' absolute trust and earned his colleagues' respect. Some of those who worked under him, still report sarcastic and abusive nature, but he was skilled at masking his patronizing attitude in front of those he chose to impress. As for any signs of addiction, there were no blackouts as before, and no indication of drug use. In Hyde, Harold Shipman was home free, and he was free to kill.
Oh, dude.
So
That's such a fucking terrifying line. In Hyde, Shipman was home free. Free to kill. Dun dun dun.
yeah,
So I'm going to go ahead and assume that the rest of this is going to be real fucked.
yeah.
So if you can't handle true crime stuff, don't listen to last week's episode. Don't listen to this week's episode. Listen to the one before all that. We'll get back into the spooky stuff here soon. It's spooky season.
Yeah.
But we started off is this the first episode of October?
I think so.
Think so, right? So getting into Dr. Death.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yes.
Good way to sneak into the spooky spirit.
Spooky spirits.
Yeah.
Spirits that are spooky. Anyway, let's continue into Dr. Death.
All right. So, because of the nature of the Shipman case, it may never be possible to document every murder that he committed. There's a clinical audit commissioned by the Department of Health that estimates his responsibility for the death of at least 236 patients over a 24-year period.
I'm sorry?
Mm-hmm.
236 patients' deaths he's connected to?
Estimated. It's very likely that it was closer to 250.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Over 24 years, this guy probably killed, as far as we know, 236, but most likely 250 fucking people.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's actually insane.
There's a reason this man is known as one of Britain's most prolific, if not the most prolific serial killer.
Dude, that's like almost, if it's 250, dude, that's at least 10 people a year.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people just dying.
It's crazy.
And it did it for 20, no one noticed for 24 years?
No.
I bet somebody noticed.
There's
I'm sure we'll get it.
There's a reason he got caught. So the audit by Professor Richard Baker of University of Leicester examined the number and pattern of deaths in Harold Shipman's practice. He compared them with those of other practitioners. Significant differences did appear, notably that the rates of death in elderly patients were disproportionately higher. Other variations appeared. Deaths were often clustered at certain times of the day. Patients' records and previous symptoms mismatched, and Shipman was usually in attendance. Professor Liam Donaldson, Chief Medical Officer for the Department of Health, wrote that these factors, quote, must be investigated by proper legal authorities. Detective Chief Superintendent Bernard Postles, who headed the original investigations, said that the report, quote, many of its conclusions accord with our own findings to date. He noted the death toll estimated in the audit was broadly in keeping with the number of deaths investigated by Greater Manchester Police during the course of the investigation. So, even so, the final numbers are anyone's guess. Coroner John Pollard once speculated, quote, we might be looking at 1,000.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so...
like, killing one person is insane.
Yeah.
But killing 1,000 is unimaginable.
Yeah. So, local undertaker Alan Massey began to notice a strange pattern. Not only did Shipman's patients seem to be dying at an unusually high rate, their bodies had a similarity when he was called to collect them. Quote, anybody can die in a chair, but there's no set pattern. And Dr. Shipman's always used to be the same or very similar. Could be sat in a chair, could be laid in the settee. But I would say 90% was always fully clothed. There was never anything in the house that I saw that indicated the person had been ill. It just seems the person where they were had died, and something didn't quite fit. Worried enough to voice his unease, Massey decided to confront Shipman and paid the doctor a visit. Massey recalled, quote, I asked him if there was any cause for concern, and he said, no, there isn't.
All right, then.
Is that not fucking creepy, though?
Yeah. It's just so stupid. Of like, now, Mr. Shipman, is there any cause for concern regarding your patients and the deaths? And he's like,
no, not really.
Okay, yeah, well, hey, sorry to bother. Hey, you have a good day.
Thanks.
Just fucking, you're fine.
Ow.
You're literally fine.
I'm gonna bruise. You got me in just the right area. And it like hurt.
I tapped you. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got me in just the right area, like that. I was like, oh, ow.
Fucking, you're such a baby.
Yeah. I'm not very good with
doing
pain.
an improv sesh here where I'm playing as Shipman. I'm like, and I hit you with it, and then you're like, ah. And I'm like,
I'm not very good with pain.
I didn't even. You're making it seem like I'm a piece of shit.
No, it wasn't that hard of a hit, but like
it wasn't hard to hit at all.
No, it's just my I'm sensitive.
It's fucked up, dude. Make me seem like a bad guy.
No.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
No, I'm sensitive. Sensitive little baby. So he showed Massey the certificate book that he issued death certificates in, the cause of death, and his remarks were, nothing to worry about. You've nothing to worry about, and anybody who wants to inspect this book can. So, reassured by Shipman's ease of the question, the undertaker took no further action. His daughter, Debbie Bramboff, who was also a funeral director, was not so readily appeased. She found an ally in Dr. Susan Booth. From a neighboring practice, Dr. Booth had gone to the funeral directors to examine a body. British law requires a doctor from an unrelated practice to countersign cremation forms issued by the original doctor. They're paid a fee for the service, in which some medics cynically call cash for ash.
What, dude? That's crazy. Cash for ash is crazy. I'm naming my self-titled that, dude. That's
Cash for ash.
dude. Cash for ash is crazy, dude.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
that's funny.
That's fucking dark.
It's dark, but
It's a good bit.
I get it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So Debbie had told Dr. Booth that she had some misgivings. Booth explained she was concerned about the number of deaths of Dr. Shipman's patients that they'd attended recently. She was also puzzled by the way in which the patients were found. They were mostly female, living on their own, found dead, sitting in a chair, fully dressed, and not in their night clothes, lying ill in bed. Booth spoke to her colleagues, one of them, Dr. Linda Reynolds, who contacted coroner John Pollard. He, in turn, alerted the police, and in a virtually covert operation, Shipman's records were examined and given a clean bill of health because of the causes of death, and the treatments matched perfectly. What the police did not discover was that Shipman had rewritten patient records after he killed. So, there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to argue in court once they find all that out, that it wasn't premeditated.
Yeah.
You know, it's like rewriting. You're just hiding the evidence, dude.
Exactly.
You know, it's not like it wasn't like he was a shitty doctor. You know, like, I mean, he's a scumbag and he's a killer.
Right.
But like, as far as from what it seems like, when he first started his practice, or was first started practicing, he was a pretty good doctor.
Yeah.
You know, everybody was like, he's quiet, but he does his shit. He gets it done.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, you're fucking sketchy bitch.
He is a sketchy bitch. So the quality of that investigation has been questioned because the police failed to check for a previous criminal record as well. So that's good. Nor did they make any inquiries with the General Medical Council, because why would they do that? Had they done so, Shipman's past record of drug abuse and forgery might well have led to a more thorough approach. But more intense scrutiny was about to blow the Shipman case wide open. Kathleen Grundy's sudden death on June 24th of 1998 came to a terrible shock to all who knew her. She was a singularly active 81-year-old, and she was well known to the people of Hyde. She was a wealthy ex-mayor and had plenty of energy to burn, and she was a tireless worker for local charities until the day of her death. Her absence was noted when she failed to show up at the Age Concern Club.
Which is a really shitty club to be in, dude.
She does a lot.
Age Concern Club, dude.
I don't know, man.
It's like, you get to like 90, they're like, whoa, hold on. Start watching. Dude, that's a really fucking, that's an awful club.
Yeah, it's not a very good name.
I don't like that name, dude.
It's not a good name. It sounds like it's like a soup kitchen, almost, of sorts.
Yeah.
Because there she would help serve meals to elderly pensioners. But like, come up with a better name.
I don't know. The Silver Servers. You know?
Yeah.
That's a fucking hard name, dude.
Age Concern Club.
Yeah, they're like, Jesus Christ, you're old. You know, like we gotta start watching you, dude. Making sure you're fucking all right. That's such a bad name for a club. I'm gonna look up more about that.
So, because the widow was noted for her punctuality and reliability, her friends immediately suspected something wrong when she didn't show. When her friends went to her home to check up on her, they found her lying on a sofa, fully dressed and deceased. They immediately called Dr. Shipman. He had visited the house a few hours earlier and was the last person to see her alive. He claimed the purpose of his visit had been to take blood samples for studies on aging. All right.
That's such a bum fucking answer, dude.
Yeah. I was taking blood samples to...
Is your blood as old? Is your blood old too? It's like, what the fuck? Like, some people believe this fucking asshole? Mm-hmm. That's insane to me, dude. What do you mean blood for aging, dude? Like, look at the person. They're old. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
And the cops are just like, I'm not a doctor. It's like, what?
I don't fucking know.
What are you talking about, dude? That's insanity.
Yeah. So Shipman pronounced her dead, and the news was conveyed to her daughter, Angela Woodruff. The doctor told the daughter a post-mortem was unnecessary because he had seen her shortly before death. That seems a little sketch.
Yeah.
Following her mother's burial, Mrs. Woodruff returned home, where she received a troubling phone call from solicitors. They claimed to have a copy of Miss Grundy's will. Solicitor herself, Angela's own firm, had always handled her mother's affair, and her firm held the original document ledged in 1986. The moment she saw the badly typed, poorly worded paper, Angela Woodruff knew it was a fake. It left £386,000 to Dr. Shipman.
Oh, shit.
Quote, my mother was a meticulously tidy person. The thought of her signing a document which is so badly typed didn't make any sense. The signature looked strange. It looked too big. And the concept of mom signing a document, leaving everything to her doctor, was unbelievable.
Yeah, it makes absolutely zero fucking sense, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would give nothing to my doctors other than a nice firm handshake.
So it wasn't a case of, quote, look, she's not left me anything in her will, she later said, and initially she thought Shipman was being framed. But after interviewing witnesses to the quote-unquote will, she reluctantly concluded that the doctor had murdered her mother for profit. It was then she went to the local police. Her investigation skills ultimately reached Detective Superintendent Bernard Postles.
And he just was sitting there just eating his crisps, you know? And he's like, what have it? This doctor's a killer. We'll get him, well. No, I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's a key figure who helped stop this case. I'm sure he's the only guy who actually knows what the fuck is going on. Probably.
He was part of the original investigation too, though.
Yeah.
We're like, no, it's fine. I think it's fine because I gotta go to lunch in 2 minutes.
Yeah, fucking goddamn it. Fucking fat British policeman. Marty Cock.
So, his own investigation convinced him Angela Woodruff's conclusions were accurate. Of the forged will itself, Postles was to later say, you only have to look at it once and you start thinking it's something off a John Bull printing press. You don't have to have 20 years as a detective to know it's a fake. Maybe he thought he was being clever, and old lady, nobody around her. Look at it. It's a bit tacky. But everyone knew she was as sharp as a tack. Maybe it was his arrogance. Now, Detective Superintendent.
Detective Super Postles?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Had the oldest motive in the world, greed, to justify his future actions. To get solid proof of Kathleen Grundy's murder, a postmortem was required, which in turn required an exhumation order from the coroner. This was a rare occurrence for any British police force, one the Greater Manchester Police had not experienced, which is crazy because I feel like in the U.S. they're like, dig them up.
Yeah, in the U.S. they're very much like that. I'd have to talk to some of my friends who live in the U.K. and I'm actually working on a thing right now to talk to some other spooky podcasters, and they're from Australia.
Oh.
They talk about like Australian spooky and true crime stuff.
Yeah.
And it'd be really fun to see how the difference of the law enforcement is across the world, you know.
Yeah.
But definitely here in the U.S., they're like, you think that she was poisoned with drugs and she was killed. dig her up. Like, that's just it. But this, they have to go through all these steps. And I'm sure they got to go through a bunch of steps in the U.S. I'm sure it's not like just a dude's like, get the shovel in the car, let's go. Like, it's not like that.
I don't think so. I think it's just,
In some counties, maybe, but...
just the fact that it's a rare occurrence. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, like, here it's like, yeah.
Maybe it's more publicized here.
Maybe.
You know, it's like, it's this sacrilegious thing of, like, exhuming the person.
Yeah.
Like,
Maybe.
digging up the well to grab them. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
No idea, dude.
They did not have one officer who had ever taken part in an exhumation. So they asked the National Crime Squad for advice.
Which is such a cool fucking name for like a Department of Justice style organization, dude.
Yeah.
National Crime Squad.
I like that they had to ask them for advice.
Yeah, they're like, how do we not fuck this up? What do we do that's okay?
You dig them up.
Uh-huh.
Don't hit the casket.
Don't hit casket.
Gently lift the casket up.
Firmly grasp it.
Gently lift it.
Lift it.
Gently.
Again.
And put it on the ground. Gently. Open
Gently?
it. Yeah.
Open it. Right there?
Sure.
I don't know. You know what you're talking about, dude.
I'm not part of the National Crime Squad.
Yeah, that's why we'll never be part of the National Crime Squad, dude. You know, I don't think they're. Of course, you're gonna do it gently. What are they gonna use? Like fucking 400 pounds of dynamite, dude? Like fracking, you know, just blowing the fucking ground apart, dude. Surface blasting it to get. What do you mean?
Gently.
Gently. It's like, yeah, they're not gonna fucking just rip them out of the. That's insane. That's an insane thing.
So by the time the trial had begun, his team would be uncomfortably familiar with the process of so he was charged, or he was being charged with 15 murders.
Damn.
So of the 15 killed, 9 were buried and 6 were cremated. So Catherine Grundy was the first grave to be opened, and her body was one of the first of the ongoing postmortems. So they brought 9 people up.
Mm-hmm.
So they got real used to it real quick.
Yeah, I bet. I just wanted to kind of double back real quick to the age concern thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I was genuinely curious about it because I think it's just an insane name. But it says defined as those basically just like the interests of all older people, you know, food, you know, charity and stuff, you know, like, just helping the elderly. But it says for those over the age of 50. Sign my dad up for this shit, dude.
For the age concern.
Yeah. It's like, you get too drunk and you get on ladders all the time, dude. Don't fucking do that. All right?
That's his concern.
Yeah, he's like, it's my concern. My concern is I gotta get blackout drunk and hang Christmas lights in the rain, dude. That's a true story, too.
I know it is.
It's so funny, dude. The ladder was fucking bending because he's too fat, dude. It was great. I don't know. The man is insane.
So, Catherine Grundy, her tissue and hair samples were sent to different labs for analysis, and the wait for results began. At the same time, police raided the doctor's home and offices. It was a low-key exercise, but timed, so Shipman had no chance of learning a body had been exhumed for post-mortem. Police had to be certain no evidence could be destroyed or concealed before their search. When police arrived, Shipman registered zero surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, his approach was one of arrogance and contempt as the search warrant was read out. One item crucial to police investigations was his typewriter used to type the bogus will.
Oh, shit.
Shipman produced an old Brother manual portable, telling an improbable tale of how Miss Grundy sometimes borrowed it. This unbelievable story was to work against Shipman, especially when forensic scientists confirmed it was the machine used to type the counterfeit will and other fraudulent documents. So Searching the house yielded medical records, some mysterious jewelry, and a surprise. The Shipman home was littered with filthy clothes, old newspapers, and for a doctor's home, it was nothing short of unsanitary. But an even bigger surprise was due. When toxicologist Julie Evans filed her report on the cause of death of Miss Grundy, Postles was astounded. The morphine level in the dead woman's body was the cause of death. Not only that, her death would have occurred within 3 hours of having received the fatal dose. Postles later said Shipman's use of the drug was a serious miscalculation. The doctor surely have known morphine is one of the few poisons that can remain in body tissue for centuries. Postles observed, quote, "I was surprised. I anticipated that I would have difficulty if he had given them something in way of poison lost in a background substance." He gave insulin, which the body normally produces naturally, as an example. So, like, you would think he would use something like insulin.
Yeah, something where it looked like there was some sort of actual medical issue.
And not just a morphine overdose.
Yeah, where it's like where people, like, you see on forensic files all the time when they use some sort of, like, I think we talked about, maybe we didn't, I don't know. We talked about how one guy was using the type of drug that would simulate a heart attack.
Yeah.
And be like, it's a heart attack.
Right.
You know, but like this, no, he's being reckless and he's being careless because he's a fucking arrogant asshole.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
That's the only reason why that's why he would just standing there all smug and just being like, oh, whatever, whatever you need to do, just get out of my way.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we found all this evidence. Thanks, man.
He's not very smart. Shipman. So it was an unexpected bonus when they discovered that Kathleen Grundy did not take it herself either. So Shipman would later claim that the stylish and conservative old lady was a junkie. Even today, psychologists speculate on the possibility that he had wanted to be caught. Otherwise, why would he hand them the typewriter and use the drug so easily traced back to him? Mm-hmm. But others believe he saw himself as invincible, believing that as a doctor, his word would never be questioned. The detectives realized the case went far beyond just one death, and the scope of the investigation broadened immediately. So, essentially, they investigate all these deaths. Mm-hmm. You know, they're doing all their investigation. Those who had not been cremated and had died following Shipman's house call took precedence. Other issues were factored in, but obviously only uncremated bodies could yield tissue samples for examination. Slightly different criteria applied to the next group for police investigation, all cremated. They were investigated mainly on the basis of known pre-existing conditions, recorded causes of death, and Shipman's presence before they died. Whenever he could, the doctor urged families to cremate their dead and also stressed no further investigation was necessary. Which...
yeah, he's just trying to cover his tracks.
Immediately seems weird.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I had a family member die, and the doctor was like, yeah, let's just get him on the ground, like, immediately. Let's just do that. I'd be like, no.
Excuse me?
Why? I don't think so, buddy. All right, I'm fucking watching you, dude. All right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it does seem a little strange that no relatives found this peculiar, but people typically trust their doctors. Typically. Especially in times of great stress. After all, the causes of death Shipman presented were rational, even though bereaved families were often surprised to learn of conditions that their loved ones had never mentioned. Even if they had questioned the doctor, he had the computerized medical notes to prove patients had seen him for the very symptoms that he cited as causes of death. Mm-hmm. So, police would later learn that he altered computer records to make everything match, Callously, Shipman made most of these changes within hours of his patient's death. Often immediately after killing, he would hurry to his office and adjust his records.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of Kathleen Grundy, he reinforced his later statement that she was a morphine junkie by inventing and backdating several injuries.
Interesting.
You guys
I don't think
the floppy disk, right? Same fucking concept. You guys can't see when I make edits, right?
Yeah, you guys gonna tell. Yeah, I'm gonna listen.
Like,
I know it's hard to believe, but 82-year-old Kathleen was definitely tweaking. What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
I don't fucking know.
I don't think that. I guess it's never too late to start tweaking, but it's like there's usually other factors that play into that. You know,
No.
she's quick-witted, she's sharp. You know,
No.
very tidy. You know, and then she's like, well, it's clearly she was tweaking, and you're like,
Time for some morphine. Like,
yeah, she's like, well, I've just done all my taxes and I've rearranged my home beautifully and dusted everything. Looks nice. Time to use a bunch of morphine. What? No, what the fuck?
yeah, no.
No, it's just probably go play cards or something, dude.
She's gonna go volunteer because that was kind of her thing. She would go and volunteer.
Yeah.
Do all that. Like, I don't think she's a morphine addict.
I don't think so either.
You know.
Yeah, you hear that, Shipman? We're on to you.
Yeah.
All right.
So when Shipman first encountered the computer, he was technophobic, but once he reluctantly agreed to embrace the then new technology, he declared himself a computer expert.
Of course he did.
This was consistent with his need to assert his superiority, obviously. But what he didn't know was that his hard drive recorded to the second every phony alteration he made to a patient's record. Yeah.
How much of an expert are you, Harold?
I just... God.
Mm-hmm.
So a taped interview with the Greater Manchester Police demonstrates this lack of knowledge. Do you want to be Shipman or you want to be the officer?
That is entirely up to you.
I don't care either way.
Well, I suppose I'll be Shipman.
All right.
Why not?
I'll just remind you of the day of this lady's death, the 11th of May, 98. After 3 o'clock that afternoon, you've endorsed the computer with the date of the 1st of October of 97, which is 10 months prior, chest pains.
I have no recollection of me putting that on the machine.
It's your passcode. It's your name.
It doesn't alter the fact I can't remember doing it.
You attended the house at 3 o'clock. That's when you murdered this lady. You went back to the surgery and immediately started altering this lady's medical records. You tell me why you needed to do that.
There's no answer.
And then in another recorded interview, there was another patient, 73-year-old Winifred Mellower, who also had a morphine overdose with altered records to show a history of angina and chest pains. And the police officer continued her interview. The levels were such that this woman actually died from toxicity of morphine, not as you wrongly diagnosed. In plain speaking, you murdered her. One feature of these statements from the family was that they couldn't believe their own mother had chest pains, angina, and hadn't been informed.
By whom?
By her.
By her. Thank you.
They also found it hard to believe because she didn't have a history of chest pains and complaints and heart disease and angina, did she, doctor?
It's often written on the records that she had a history and therefore...
Simple truth is that you fabricated a history to cover up what you've done. You murdered her, and you make up a history of angina and chest pains so you could issue a death certificate and placate this poor woman's family, didn't you?
No.
We've got a statement from a Detective Sergeant John Ashley who works in the field of computers. He made a thorough examination of your computer, doctor, and the medical records contained on it, what he's found is that there are a number of entries that have been incorrectly placed on this record to falsely mislead and indicate this woman had a record of angina and chest pains. What do you got to say about that, doctor?
Nothing. God, dude, that's fucking tense, dude.
Like
that dude, that officer is a fucking gangster, dude. Like,
they literally have everything.
He's like,
they're laying it out.
Yeah, he's like, what about this, fucker? And he's like, nothing to say. Just like, what about this other piece of evidence, huh? You stupid. He's like, nothing.
No. I'm like, dude, we know. We fucking know.
Also, the weird thank you to him, like being like, by whom? It was like, by her. It's like, oh, yeah, of course, thank you. It's like, what the fuck? I just get this feeling like he just didn't give, like, I mean, obviously he doesn't give a shit, but like he just was like, this isn't worth my time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Just how like blasé he is.
Yeah.
You know? So the trial went on for 2 weeks. Primarily a medical lawyer, 46-year-old Mrs. Davies, mainly dealt with matters outside the criminal courts, and she had 3 applications to present. First, that the trial be halted. Mrs. Davies claimed that Dr. Shipman could not receive a fair trial because of the prior inaccurate, misleading coverage of the case. For the better part of 2 days, she drew attention to the range of newspaper articles, reportage of nearly 150 patients' cases and financial searches, plus the extensive coverage of the exhumations. Prosecutor, Mr. Henriquez, countered with a statement that the reports had actually been beneficial, that they'd helped alert other families to possible irregularities in the deaths of their loved ones. In the second application, Ms. Davies wanted the court to hold 3 separate trials.
Of course.
She claimed that the case of Kathleen Grundy should be separate. It alone had any alleged motive, which was greed. The second trial, she said, should involve only patients who have been buried because they were the only group where the physical evidence of cause of death, morphine poisoning, applied. And third, she believed, should cover those cremated as no physical evidence of death existed.
She's just doing lawyer shit, dude.
Yeah.
She's just trying to muddy the water as much as possible because she knows he's fucked, you know?
Yeah. Again, the prosecutor countered with an argument that because the cases were interrelated, trying them all together was required to present a more comprehensive picture. Mrs. Davies then presented the prosecution's third application, one that stunned the court. She wanted evidence referred to as Volume 8 disallowed. Essentially, Volume 8 detailed how Shipman had accumulated morphine from 28 patients, many now deceased, and it showed the doctor had continued prescribing for some after they had died and kept the drugs for his own purposes. We know this. He has a history of this. But she wants that disallowed.
It's fucking stupid. It literally makes, like, she just, like I said, just trying to muddy the waters, make it difficult and all that stuff, because that is her job, technically. Yeah. To do that, you know, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, this major piece of evidence here, let's just not use that. Come on, Your Honor, let's get real, all right? Ooh, evidence, schmevidence, am I right?
Yeah, so similarly, he also prescribed opiates for many still living patients who had never acquired strong painkillers, much less morphine. After considering the defense's 3 applications, Mr. Justice Forbes carefully explained why he was denying each one. He said that the trial would proceed and would include the 16 charges in the indictment, and evidence in Volume 8 would be allowed.
Yes.
So
also, the judge name was was like Your Honor Justice Forbes.
I think justice is like
I don't know, dude.
title.
It said Mr. Justice Forbes.
I don't know.
So if his first name is Justice, dude, he was built for that.
So they kind of like talk about the case and talk about dismissing it as a mercy killing or euthanasia,
like a
assisted suicide.
Yeah,
type
like
of thing.
fucking like a Jack Kevorkian style thing, which I do want to cover on the pod one of these days because that's a really interesting case. So they're trying to say that it's like that. Interesting.
Well, so Henriquez, who's the prosecutor, is, dismissing those kind of thoughts because none of the dead had a terminal illness. He claimed that Shipman killed the 15 patients because he enjoyed doing so. Quote, he was exercising the ultimate power of controlling life and death and repeated the act so often that he must have found the drama of taking life to his taste. So this is all kind of like trial stuff, but
yeah,
I'm going to kind of skip over some of it because we still got stuff. I didn't realize how long this was going to be. So in the second week, Shipman's former staff and colleagues were called to bear witness. The district nurse, Marion Gilchrist, took the oath and immediately burst into tears. Regaining her composure, she told how Shipman had reacted when he realized he would be arrested any moment. The doctor had broken down and he said, quote, I read thrillers and on the evidence they have, I would have me guilty. The only thing I did wrong was not having her cremated. If I had her cremated, I wouldn't be having all this trouble.
Oh my God.
Quote, if I could bring her back, I would look at all the trouble it's caused. I would say, look at all the trouble it's caused. I was going to say I didn't want the money, but because of all this trouble, I will have it. This man is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
It just is crazy how weird he is. Just how it's just everything about him is off.
Yeah.
Like even before all these murders were found out, he was just kind of off, and then you find out all these murders and you're like, oh
yeah, it starts to make a lot of sense.
Right. So they kind of talk about all these other people who he murdered. He would essentially, Shipman would pretend to call emergency services, but when he discovered, quote unquote, a patient dead, he would pick up the phone and pretend to cancel the ambulance. So he would like fake that all.
Just fake everything, yeah, because it says by now the trial had gained momentum as is characteristic, where evidence follows a pattern of him doing it over and over and over again, of him doing the same ruse that he'd been doing for years, decades.
Yeah. There was one with 77-year-old Lizzie Adams. Her partner, William Catlow, had found her, in a room, dying at that point. Catlow told the court, quote, I just burst past him. She felt warm. I said, I can feel her pulse. And Shipman said, no, that's yours. I will cancel the ambulance. But telephone records prove that Shipman never phoned ambulance service that day.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Says that in the other case of, I want to scroll back up for me. Another case. Oh my God, I just lost it. Of Nora Nuttall. Her son Anthony told how he had left his mother alone for just 20 minutes. He returned to find Dr. Shipman leaving the house. I asked him what was wrong. He said, I have rang the ambulance for her. I ran in and she looked like she was asleep in her chair. I took her by the hands and shook her, saying, Mom. Shortly after, Shipman merely touched her neck and told the son, I'm sorry, she's gone. And he just was fucking doing this over and over again, dude.
Yep.
There's so many of these
so many. There's 15 or 16 just cases where he's done this.
Yeah, scroll back up because it says it's this one that we're looking over here. Truck driver Albert Lilly broke down as recalled Shipman announced the death of his wife, 59-year-old Jean Lilly. He said, I have been with your wife for quite a while now, trying to persuade her to go to the hospital, but she won't go. I was trying to come home later and have a word with you and your wife, and I was too late. I said, what do you mean too late? He said, you are not listening to me carefully. Perhaps Shipman took pleasure in forcing Lilly to guess his beloved wife had died. He repeated the tactic with Winnie Miller, a healthy-going 73-year-old who still played football with her grandchildren. Excited about her planned trip to the Holy Land, she too died following a Shipman visit when he called her daughter Kathleen, and he was deliberately obtuse, forcing her to guess that her mother had died. He said, do you realize that your mother has been suffering from chest pains? And I said, no. He said, she called this morning and I came to see her and she refused treatment. So I says, well, I'll be up as soon as I can. He said, no, there's no need for that. So I guess she has gone to the hospital. And he said, there's no point of sending her to the hospital. I just went silent, and then he didn't say anything neither. And I realized what he was not saying. I said, do you mean my mother's dead? And he says, I see you understand.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, dude. That's fucking insane. That's so scary.
Yeah. No, he absolutely gets off on this, and it's crazy.
There's so. I mean, you're going through page after page after page of just the same thing.
Yeah.
Over and over again. And it's not like it's like he says something kind of different this time, or like, he's like, I found her and she had fallen down the stairs or whatever. It's the same fucking thing over and over again. Which is like, do you know they're having chest pains? And they're like, what? No. And then they're like, yeah, I'll be over. And then he's like, yeah, there's no need to do that because the ambulance is canceled. And like, why? And it's like, I think you know why. And you're like, what the fuck, dude? What is going on?
Yeah. During the trial, Shipman claimed that he never carried morphine, therefore he could not have killed any of his patients. But the family of Molly Dudley disproved this assertion. Although Shipman was not charged with Molly's death in the original trial, he had admitted to giving her morphine. Daughter-in-law Joyce Dudley received a call from Shipman telling her, quote, I'm afraid your mother-in-law has only got about a half hour to live.
Man.
Molly was deceased by the time her son Jeffrey and his wife arrived. Shipman told them that she had died from a heart attack. Joyce Dudley stated, and then this is when he said to me and Jeff that he gave her a shot of morphine for the pain. So this proved Shipman did carry morphine. And so he did so much. He would write prescriptions and do all of this. He had prescribed 2,000 milligrams of morphine to one of his patients who had prostate cancer. Mm-hmm. Though this patient was not in pain, Shipman said he wanted him to have it on hand in case he developed pain later. Which is not how that goes.
No, definitely not how that goes.
he fucking just constantly would do that, of just writing these prescriptions. It was same thing over and over and over again. Like, his motive never changed. It was the same MO.
So, yeah, because when you were just kind of scrolling, and we only read a couple of the excerpts from the trial.
Yeah.
You know, but as you're scrolling, I'm reading it, and it's just the same things over and over and over and over, and it just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Even now, we're still even getting into it more.
Yeah. One man who narrowly escaped becoming an unwitting supplier was Jim King. In 1996, he was incorrectly diagnosed as having cancer. Shipman treated him with massive doses of morphine.
Yeah.
Jim King told how he kept saying to us, well, you can take as much morphine as you wish, because, of course, it didn't really matter. I was dying anyway. But he wasn't. He didn't actually have cancer.
It's pretty fucked up, dude.
Yeah. It's just... it's a lot. And so, you know, there's the allegation of him murdering 15 patients.
We'll get to back up a little bit there. It says it took the judge, Mr. Justice Forbes, 2 weeks to meticulously dissect the evidence heard by the jury. He urged caution, noting that no witnesses had seen Shipman kill, and he also urged the jurors to use common sense in arriving at their verdict. So it took him 2 weeks, 2 whole weeks, to go through all the people that he killed.
Yeah.
That's insane.
No, this is just 15 people.
Yeah, just 15.
This is a small sliver of the amount of people he is suspected of killing. Quote, the allegations could not be more serious. A doctor accused of murdering 15 patients. You will have heard evidence which may have aroused feelings of anger, strong disapproval, disgust, profound dismay, or deep sympathy. And at 4:43 p.m. on Monday, January 31st of 2000.
Can I say this part? May I?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. It's my favorite part in these true crime stories. The foreman declared all the jury's verdicts were unanimous. They found Harold Shipman guilty on 15 counts of murder and 1 count of forgery. 15 counts of murder.
The judge passed 15 life sentences for murder and a 4-year sentence for forgery.
Oh, naturally, yeah. Yeah. Go. You know, serve the 4 years, then we'll get to the 15 life sentences.
Yeah. So then he broke with the tradition that usually involves writing to Home Secretary about his recommendation on the length of the sentence. In an ordinary way, I would not do this in open court, but in your case, I am satisfied justice demands that I make my views known. At the conclusion of this trial, my recommendation will be that you spend the remainder of your days in prison.
Yeah, it's such a weird duality of, you know, in Britain, in the UK versus the United States, you know.
Yeah.
Because, like, I feel like it's also like a state by state basis, but, you know, if you're like in fucking Utah or Texas or some shit like that, and they're like, you're charged with 15 counts of fucking murder, capital murder. Yeah. You know where you're going? Old Smoky. You know, like that's what you get, or you're getting lethal injection. You know, but life in prison, it's also pretty good. But I also feel like he's such a little rat that the moment he got to prison, he is already starting to like pull some shit, dude. Because you already know, dude, those prisoners were fucking with him too. You know, they come up and they're like, doctor, look infected to you," and like smearing like fucking like goop and shit on him.
Yeah.
You know, whatever.
Yeah, I don't like the word goop.
It's a bad word.
It's not a good word.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the trial was 57 days.
Wow, that is super short.
Yeah.
Wow.
They decided pretty quick.
They were fast.
Yeah.
They were fast with that. That at 57 days to talk about 15 murders,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
that's fast. Like, it takes years for us to do it.
Yeah. They were on it.
Wow.
So yeah, they concluded that Shipman had 236 more in-home patient deaths than would normally be expected in general. Like,
He had 236 in-home patient deaths.
yes, more more than the average doctor would have.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of in-home patient deaths.
I see that.
Most of these deaths involved women over 75. It just, there was no signs of violence, no sexual overtones,
Mhm.
no motive. And honestly, not really any like smoking gun. Like,
The smoking gun is the morphine.
like,
That is the smoking gun.
there's just not a ton, you know, other than just recreating his mother's death, you know?
Yeah, I mean that is probably the, I don't want to say the reasoning, but that would probably be the where he kind of got the idea. But the smoking gun is for sure the morphine. That is the, you know, that is the evidence.
Yeah.
You know.
It was like there was no really toying with them either. It was, you know, they would die rather peacefully.
Yeah.
You know, for what it is, in surroundings where they felt safe and comfortable, you know. And some psychoanalysts speculate that he hated older women, citing comments he made about the elderly being a drain on the health system. Others feel, and I feel like this is more accurate, is that he was recreating his mother's death scene in order to satisfy some deep masochistic need.
I feel like it's a duality of him doing that because he is in some weird sense of the matter recreating his mother's death. But I also feel like the reason that he is killing and editing these wills and things like that of these elderly people is because he thinks it's easy.
Yeah.
You know?
I think by that.
Who are these elderly people going to trust more than their doctor?
Yeah.
You know? Well, a doctor says that there's something wrong with me. Dr. Shipman says there's something wrong with me, so there must be something wrong.
Yeah.
And he's going to give me stuff to help me with that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's crazy to think about that he had probably 250, if not more, patients
Yeah.
die under his care. Like, it's wild. But he essentially, he was exercising the ultimate power of controlling life and death, repeated the act so often that he must have found the drama to taking life his taste. Like, that's plain and simple. Prosecutor had it right when he said that.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
It's just wild. It's
And-
fucking crazy.
And I see you don't have it in there, so I'll read it out. Harold Shipman hanged himself
Oh, I
in his cell
forgot about
at
that.
Her Majesty's Prison, Wakefield, at 6:20 a.m. on January 13th, 2004, at the age of 57. He was pronounced dead at 8:10 a.m. A statement by His Majesty's Prison Service, I forgot it's His Majesty's now, gotta change it now. His Majesty's Prison Service indicated that he had hanged himself from a window bars of his cell using bed sheets. After his death, his body was taken to the mortuary in Mediceum Legal Center in Sheffield by an undertaker's van for postmortem examination. Eventually released to family after an inquest was opened and adjourned shortly after. Some of the victims of the families said they felt cheated, as Shipman and suicide meant that they would never have the satisfaction of a confession nor the answers to why he committed the crimes. Home Secretary David Blunkett, which is an insane name, admitted that the celebration was tempting, stating, "You wake up and you receive a call telling you that Shipman has topped himself, and you think, is it too early to open a bottle?" And then you discover that everybody's very upset that he's done it.
I mean, I do feel like he got off easy.
Yeah, excuse me, for sure. Shipman's death divided national newspapers, with the Daily Mirror branding him a cold coward and commending the prison service for allowing his suicide to happen. However, The Sun ran a celebratory front-page headline, "Ship-Ship-Hooray." The Independent called for the inquiry into Shipman's suicide to look more widely at the state of UK prisons, as well as the welfare of its inmates. The Guardian wrote an article with General Sir David Ramsbotham, who formerly served as His Majesty's Chief Inspector of Prisons, suggested that the whole life sentencing was replaced by an indefinite sentencing. For this would at least give prisoners the hope of eventual release and reduce the risk of ending their own lives by suicide. Yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. The Sun is the only ones that are a fucking G when they go ship-ship-hooray, which is super savage.
Yeah.
That's so savage, dude. Yeah.
This is a fucking lot.
So he's fucking dead and he's rotting in hell.
He didn't even make it 4 years in prison.
Yeah. That's crazy.
He made it almost 4 years.
God, that's crazy.
He couldn't even last in prison.
No. He's an old man. Old man in prison. Just getting...
Rot.
Yeah, dude. And he just... Well, I mean... I'm sure he was getting fucked with hard too, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you killed my fucking grandma, dude. And just beat the fuck out of him in the showers or something, you know? What? You know, and like take his tea and crumpets, dude.
Maybe you don't kill people. Yeah,
obviously, don't kill people unless you have to defend yourself. That's different. That's different. That's a different thing.
It's fair.
You know, protect your life first. But Shipman is dead. Ship-Ship-Hooray, which is definitely. I definitely want to show this as Ship-Ship-Hooray with this death date on the bottom, so I can be like, yeah, he's fucking dead, dude. Finally dead. We got him.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. You know, he got himself, but we got him.
The story was like, I saw something about this story and I was like, this is fucked.
Yeah, no, it's terrifying. He's a absolute psychopath.
This is why I don't trust doctors.
Yeah, I don't trust them at all. You know, it's like you have a whole room full of the same clothes over and over again, dude. No. These so-called scrubs. Pretty sus, man.
I have a bunch of scrubs.
Yeah, that's why I'm always watching you. But thanks so much for joining us in this week's episode of Haunts, Graves, and Omens.
Thank you.
Thank you. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. You know, rate us 5 stars, listening apps. Do your thing, baby. We are ramping up for episode 100. It's coming out next month. You know, we're getting there. It's going to be very exciting. But we are officially in the spooky month, starting it out with Dr. Death, Mr. Harold Shipman. And we got a whole list of fun things. Our Halloween episode's going to be super fun. I'm excited. You know, I figure we can maybe dress as costumes.
Yeah.
Be kind of goofy, kind of fun. But if you want to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you can. HGOPodcast for Instagram and TikTok. Haunts, Graves, and Omens on Facebook, which I'm actually going to be changing over here soon, making a little Comedy Chaos network so you can experience all the fun shows. Let's see, what else? Oh, yeah. Email us. Tell us. I want some listeners, like, stories of supernatural things we've experienced or anything like that. Just anything under the blanket that we cover for Haunts, Graves, and Omens. Email us hgopodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to follow me on Instagram and TikTok, you can at IHuntTheHaunted. So check it out. Watch it. Boom. Right there. I Hunt the Haunted. Tay.
Hi, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Lunar Thrill. You can also follow our dog on Spirit the Turv on Instagram. That's all I got. Marty.
You can find me at Get a Fella. You can find me at... Hold on. You can find me at Get a Fella. All right.
This is what happens when Marty doesn't show up for his shift.
Thank you again for supporting us for almost 2 years of Hot Scrapes and Omens. If you've been here since day one, or if you're just brand new, thank you so much. And I can't imagine. I'm truly just shocked that we've been doing this for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I even started this before Taylor.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like not before Taylor, but before Taylor ever joined the show. I was doing it on Twitch for years, and it's crazy to see how far it's come. And now we're in a studio, and it's just it's insane.
It's wild.
It's insane to me. And so I really, really full-heartedly appreciate all the support and all the love. But until next week, stay spooky.
Stay on.
And Ship-Ship-Hooray.
That got me. That got me good.